You have got to love Tesla again today, moving detached from any influence by any other sector. Way up today, even as the other indexes were neutral to down. This is very, very likely, in my opinion, my humble opinion. I'm not an investment advisor. In my humble opinion, this is very likely to be the trend, at least until after earnings. This is Randy Kirk. If you like Wednesday afternoon's midweek analysis, please hit the like button and hit subscribe, hit notify. Now, listen, seriously, seriously, seriously. I know I tell you a lot of times that I've got a great interview coming up. The interview that I just did with Larry Goldberg beat my expectations. It's already up on Patreon right now. If you want to join Patreon, you can go look at it. It's 7-day free trial, so you can go up and look at it if you wish. It beat all my expectations. I was looking for one solution, which is what does Dojo really mean in terms of product, Dojo as a service. We hit it out of the park. Well, he hit it out of the park. I just kind of went along for the ride. Anyway, check it out. Hit notify if you want to be sure that you see that video tomorrow afternoon. And then, of course, join Patreon. That's it. Let's jump into it. Okay. I love this one. Germany has reached 50% energy production from renewables. Now, they weren't under any kind of pressure to jump quickly into renewables. No, nothing to do with some Russian gas lines or whatever. Okay. So Germany, under pressure, is now over 50% of their production is coming from renewables. If you know anybody out there, if you are continuing to question whether the United States or the world can go 100% electric in the future, this is just more proof of it. We have country after country, continent, even Australia, heading towards 100% electric already. But there's a lot of places in the world, a lot of places in the United States that are not even getting a beginning yet. It's going to be huge, and of course, that's going to impact Tesla's energy portion of their business. So far, the solar is not turning me on that much, but man, when it comes to their energy storage, it's going to be in the hundreds of billions of dollars of profit in the future if Elon hits his numbers. If you listened this morning, you know that I was ranting about cities not buying BEVs. And not leading by example. Well, I gave an example this morning where Arizona is now doing a study, or they did a study, and boy, they're going to save all this money. And so apparently they're going to move on this, starting to buy lots and lots of BEVs for their uses in city, state, and city, state, regional. Well, this comes from the city of Detroit. At tonight's District 3 charter mandated meeting, Mayor Mike Duggan will lay out his plans to convert Detroit's municipal buildings totally to solar power as part of the city's effort to combat climate change. It is estimated that approximately 250 acres of solar panels will be required for the project. The city is requesting information from solar companies so that they can make a decision by this fall. Duh. And why is Detroit making a headline? This shouldn't be a headline. This should be like, oh yeah, one more city. Detroit's making a headline because no other cities are doing this. It is driving me bonkers. Maybe I'll do an entire rant. Maybe I'll just do one video, which is just ranting about this, and you can send it to your city council or your city hall. You can send it to the county government. You can send it to your state. Anyway, it's just nutty. And believe me, I'm not some global warming nut. I don't think it's an existential threat. I fit right into Elon's thinking. I did before I knew who Elon was. I've been studying it for 25 years. I believe it should be dealt with. I don't believe it's an existential threat. But if it is some people out there believing it's an existential threat, why aren't they putting it on all the buildings in all the cities? I'm sorry. I can't. I'm going to stop the rant now. Fed says the banks are doing fine. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Now, here is my main story of this afternoon. CNBC did an interview with Tony Sacconaghi. I think that's right, Sacconaghi. He is a Bernstein senior research analyst, and it was just almost on the same level of dumb as the cities not putting solar on top of their roof. So anyway, the interviewer says, hey, Tony, I understand you're got a 150 price target on Tesla. It was pretty close to that a few months ago, but now it's over 250. What makes you think it's going to go back down? And Tony says, well, he says, it's kind of difficult to predict in the short term, Tesla, but our perspective is that, the upcoming numbers won't be that great. I think there's a limited chance that Tesla will eclipse consensus expectations in their deliveries this quarter, and I think their margins will be down. Really. So what expectations are you saying? You didn't give your own numbers and you didn't say which expectations. So 237, 245, those are kind of the numbers that, the street has got 241. You pick your number. Did I say twos? I did it again, all fours. So some on the street, I think the consensus right now is around 241 and a couple of folks are at 245. I'm at 260. So Tony, pick a number. Which number are they not going to beat? Are they not going to beat 437? That's kind of the lowest number I've seen. And then what about margins? Pick a number. You didn't pick a number on margins either. Is it going to be under the 19%, or is it going to be over 20, or maybe right at 20? What number? So he gives nothing. He just says it's not going to do that great, whatever that means. So I think, he says more importantly, when we look forward, Tesla's continuing to try to grow at very aggressive rates, 30% plus this year and 30% plus next year. Wait a minute. Where do you get those numbers? I've never heard those numbers before. Where did Elon Musk or anybody at Tesla ever say they're trying to grow 30% this year or 30% next year? No. Tesla is trying to grow 50% per year on average, starting in the year 2020. You take that 2020 number and you add 50% per year on average, and that's where you go. Yes, you don't have to grow by 50% this year in order to hit that number. It's true, but they're going to way surpass that number this year. And they're probably going to be at least at 2 million. I think he's thinking it's going to be less than 2 million. I don't think I wrote that part of the quote down. Anyway, so then he says they're not going to hit. So they're trying to grow very aggressive rates, 30% this year, 30% next year. And it has no new product offerings. So how do you create incremental demand when you don't have anything new? So wait a minute. I'm trying to figure this out. Is Tony been living under a rock? The Cybertruck will be introduced within certainly the next 3 or 4 months. They're out driving around on the streets. They're making headlines everywhere. I doubt there's probably very little chance that it won't be introduced. And Elon's kind of given a rough date for when it's going to be the first handovers. The factories are being set up. The equipment is in. Cybertruck is, there's never been an automobile or a light vehicle in history that has more pre-orders at 1.7. Most people are saying is 1.7 million pre-orders. Now he could say the ramp couldn't work very well. He could say lots of things. Now, I think I remember there's something about a Model 3 refresh coming up also. And he doesn't have any idea whether that Model 3 refresh is going to be with a reduction in cost, with a reduction in price. He has no idea whether it'll just be the coolest looking car ever. Might even look better than my Volvo. Yeah, right? Okay, so he has no idea, but that's a new car offering. I mean, it's a refresh, but it's going to apparently be a major refresh. So how can he say, it's just a complete nonsense to say no new product offerings. And he's talking about, the next new product offerings being the lower price models in 2024, 2025. So anyway, he says that's our concern, is that Tesla will either ultimately fall short in deliveries at some point over the next 4 to 6 quarters, or that we're going to see continued price cuts in order to drive that growth. Well, there might be price cuts. The price cuts will be because there's cost cuts. That's when Elon will cut costs, prices rather. Yeah, he might cut them in the short term like he did this year in order to make sure he sells every car he can make. But if they can sell another 600,000 more Model Ys next year, and it takes a few price cuts to do that, I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. And anyway, no nuance. I don't understand it. So anyway, the interviewer says, how does that even matter? Where are all the headlines that kind of, here we have all these headlines that kind of feel like the rest of the EV industry is throwing in the towel and admitting that Tesla is king of the hill with this charging standard, and that Elon Musk was a visionary in building out these stations. Well, he could have said they're throwing in the towel by declaring bankruptcy and going out of business. Anyway, I mean, if you want to believe in Tesla, even if you have some near-term misses, it sort of seems like the charging narrative helps you to believe more in Tesla. And his answer to this is, well, I think it's certainly the competitors feel that Tesla has a good network, and Tesla wants their cars to use the Tesla cost advantage. He says Tesla's been a pioneer in EVs. Clearly, there are many positives about Tesla. And I've heard him talk in the past about the positives of Tesla. He says, but it's 800 billion valuation, which is essentially the valuation of the entire rest of the auto industry, even though they only sell 2 million cars. We've all heard the argument before. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't take into consideration what Tesla's potential is on the very high side in terms of FSD, robotaxi, Dojo as a service, and of course, the big banana of all, which is Optimus. But anyway, you want to continue to think of Tesla as only a car company and not even take into consideration energy. Okay, whatever. Anyway, crazy. I had to report on that. So I'm sorry, I missed the last sentence. I don't think this is a question of, Tesla's not known as a leader per se. I think it's really a question of what you are willing to pay. Well, he's apparently willing to pay 150, and he's going to miss out because my $260 shares that I'm buying now, well, I haven't bought any recently, but the ones that I own today at that level are going to be 2,500 within a couple of years. I'm not an investment advisor. That was not investment advice. Okay, the market is up after hours. There is probably some relief that Chairman Powell didn't say anything to spook the markets, other than he said that he's not taking off two increases of 25 basis points in a row. He's not taking that off the table. So that apparently the markets just blew that off. They didn't care. So he also reported that the major banks are looking very strong, that they passed all their stress tests. The only negative I can see in the economy right now, everything seems totally positive. If you saw my video this morning, I went down the list of all the positive stuff about the economy. The one negative seems to be the analysts, who seem to be jawboning the economy down. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get the economy to go negative now or as soon as possible, so that the economy can start back up again in time for Biden to get credit, or the Democrats to get credit. Is that what they're trying to do? I don't know what's going on. I think they can be pretty confident. I can be very confident right now, if I was a Democrat, that the Democrats are going to get some benefit of the economy being in pretty good shape by the middle of next year. Now, whether that's enough to get them in office or not, I hope not. Anyway, okay. So oil is still under 70. It's been moving up and down between 67 and 70. But the oil still being under 70 is even though another shortfall in U.S. inventory is being reported today. So what's going on there? Oil is really beaten down. I saw one analyst yesterday saying they think it's going to go down another 10 points. The 10-year bonds are still in the middle of the trading range. Again, they don't seem to be bothered by the Fed statements today. And they continue to believe that there's not going to be increases, at least unless it's built in even at 3.7, that's building in another 50 basis points. I don't know. That would be crazy. All right. Trueflation, I just looked that up. It's holding around 2.46. which would certainly be pretty dang good and probably wouldn't require any more increases by the Fed. Gold. Have you noticed gold is way down, super far down, almost $100 total since it started dropping. I don't follow gold that much, but I did notice it's way down. Any thoughts? Put that in the comments if you have thoughts about why gold is so far off. So Tesla was trading last time I looked at 257 in the after hours. I think there's a shot at 275 tomorrow, as long as there's no bad news, and preferably if the market itself is up, if the macro is up. And right now the macro was showing up in the after hours. So we could have an up day in the market and Tesla could beat that, assuming no bad news or shocks or surprises. People are trying to get ahead of the Sunday numbers, because if the Sunday numbers are, like I say, over 260, I think we're going to run quite nicely to 300. I don't think we're going to hit 300 this week. That would be a big shock, unless there's an awful lot of people who are trying to beat that number. I don't think that's going to happen. But if we do hit 460 or 470 in terms of shipments and deliveries, then I think 300 is in the bag. That doesn't mean we'll stay at 300. We get bounced back and forth. I would say 275 to 300 will be the trading range for a while until we get to earnings report. I'm not ready to give you any ideas and thoughts with regard to my ideas about what's going to happen that day. So looking for 460 on Sunday, 300 next week. Yes, that would be great. That's all I got. Hit the like, hit subscribe, hit notify. You want to see Larry. and you want to buy my books and you want to join Patreon. And it's been wonderful talking to you today.